Now, there's the Canada Pension Plan, CPP. So this, I did an issue on Canadian involvement in Canadian sort of corporate involvement with the U.S. war machine, and one of the major things that I looked at in that issue was the Canada Pension Plan, and I found that Canada is contributing, or the pension plan, they're forcing us to invest over $2 billion, $2.25 billion of our pension money is going into war industries. Out of the top 20 war industries, CPP is forcing us to invest in 16 of the world's top 20 weapons corporations. And the ones in yellow there, the top 3, and then Raytheon are the 4 largest missile defense missile defense related contractors, the big 4. Okay, so now I'm going to go through some examples. ATCO Frontec is since 1999. It's a Calgary-based company, and they've been doing all of the operations and maintenance support services for the world's most important missile defense radar system stations. There's these solid-state phased array radar system stations are used to track, assess, and target ballistic missiles, and there are 5 such facilities in 3 countries. And Canada, this Canadian company, is doing all of the maintenance and operation work for those on those 5 places. Then you have this thing called AUG signals, which produces equipment for target recognition. It's used in early missile warning, detection, recognition, tracking, and anti-ballistic missile defense. And they get funding from 4 different Canadian departments and or agencies listed there. And this fellow here, Lampropoulos, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but anyway, he's supposed to be one of the top 50 people in Ottawa. I've never met him, but he's one of the top guys in my city, apparently.
These are all companies that CPP invested in.
No, these are not necessarily CPP companies that the CPP invests in. These are just Canadian companies involved in missile defense. Now, Bristol Aerospace, this is in Winnipeg, and it's part of Magellan Aerospace. It produces 2 kinds of rockets, at least 2 kinds that I could find out about, that test missile defense weapon systems. They're used as targets. So there's the Excalibur, which is a 2-stage ballistic missile, and it's been used in war games since 1999. Now, the other one, the Black Brant, was developed in 1957 by a Canadian government agency called the Canadian Armaments Research and Development Establishment. It's probably called the Canadian Peace Establishment now. Now, this one is interesting. This is very important, very important. This is one of the world's biggest war industries. It's in Montreal. It makes, usually, if you know anything about this company, you usually probably think of it as it makes simulation, really amazing simulation technology, so that you sit down in this fake cockpit and it actually looks like you're in a warplane of whatever kind, because they provide these simulated environments for almost every kind of weapon system, weapons delivery system known to the United States, at least, in other countries. So that's how we usually think of them, as it's a simulated system, so that you're in the cockpit, you've got all your controls, and you're looking through the window, and they have the image of what it's going to look like with the hills and everything, and you're flying over a 3D recreation of the hills that you're going to have to fly over to drop your bombs on Iraq or wherever. So you can do it like 20, 30 times. Fly the warplane and over the hills and around and like that. And then when you go out and do the real thing, hey, you've already done it 20 times. So you're probably not thinking about this time when I push the button, I'm killing thousands of people. But anyway, CAE also uses this amazing simulation technology to help the weapons makers to in the creation process, the process of creating the weapons, so that they don't have to build a prototype anymore. It's all simulated, so you don't have to go through the process of create the prototype, and then you test it, and then you have to modify it a bit, so you have to build another prototype. This is all done. It's all done with computer simulation. So it's part of the creation, development, testing of weapons in the first place. And they got a contract with Boeing, which is the #1 missile defense corporation, and it's the lead systems integrator for the whole missile defense weapons program. Canadian government's given $200 million, through Industry Canada anyway, more than $200 million to this company, and its top executive, Donald Campbell, he had a 36-year career in Canada's Department of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, where he was the Liberal Deputy Foreign Minister and a Deputy Minister for International Trade, and he was Chrétien's representative at the G8 summits and ambassador to Korea and Japan. So after 36 years of that, he now works for CAE. And another former CAE executive, he doesn't work there anymore, but a CAE executive and cheerleader for missile defense, Derek Burney, who was Canada's Canadian ambassador to the U.S. under Mulroney. And he was Mulroney's chief of staff. So CMC Electronics Cincinnati, this is all just to throw you off. It's actually in Mason, Ohio. But it's owned by a Canadian company, CMC, well, Canadian Marconi Company. That's what the CMC stands for. Now, between 1998 and 2004, this company was owned by Canada's CMC Electronics of Montreal. And it's a major subcontractor for electronic components in rockets that are used to test missile defense weapons. And between 1998 and 2004, it was controlled by Onyx Corporation, which is Canada's fourth biggest company. And Jerry Schwartz, who you see there, he's here and there, and he's sitting next to Paul Martin. And this is Schwartz's wife, who runs Indigo Chapters books. But he heads up Onyx. He's the president, CEO, and the thing about Gary Schwartz is he's a billionaire, and he heads there's another company that Onyx has controlled that's missile defense related that I'll tell you about in a minute. But he was Martin's top fundraiser. He raised $4 million in one night for Paul Martin. Cognos. Now, some people might think, well, it's not a war industry. It provides business intelligence solutions. It's not. They're not making weapons or parts of weapons or helping to build weapons. What these guys are doing is providing the solutions to running a business. Now, they're helping Boeing, which is, as I said earlier, the biggest missile defense. It's the prime systems integrator for the whole program. Hundreds of companies, all doing different things. It's probably the biggest I think, what is it, Bruce? The biggest industrial program in world history. Yeah. This is from Cambridge, Ontario, and they produce. It's a major producer of parts. For example, one of the things that they produce parts for is this advanced, extremely high-frequency military satellite communications program, which the Liberal government allocated at least $554 million, and it's essential for fighting nuclear war and for the use of missile defense weapons. Those are our nice, good Liberals. Good thing they didn't say yes. It was ComDev. You've probably heard of Vision 2020. It was this document that the U.S. military put out, and it was basically how to put weapons in space and rule the world from space, the ultimate frontier, and all that sort of stuff. And it was the only Canadian company acknowledged or thanked in the acknowledgement section of the Vision 2020 document. ComDev, Cambridge, Ontario. Okay, Drs Technologies. This is from just outside of Ottawa, a place called Carleton Place. It builds this naval infrared missile defense system that I mentioned earlier called Sirius. These are sensors that use infrared to detect the launching of theater ballistic missiles, TBMs, from hundreds of kilometers away, and they can detect them hitting the atmosphere at an altitude of 70 kilometers. They're extremely useful for targeting missile defense weapons. And since 1995, long before the big no, the Canadian and Dutch governments have been collaborating to develop this Sirius technology, and it's for use aboard Canadian, Dutch, and German warships, and the D&D estimates that it will have spent $270 million on Sirius by the year 2009. Now, this guy at the bottom here, he says, he comes and admits it. We have to pay more attention to what they say in their documents. Our work on the Sirius program has positioned DRS as a key supplier of systems for missile defense that are critical for Canadian